Nobody told you that the restlessness you feel, the spiral that starts from nothing and ends everywhere, did not begin with you. The mind you were born with came preloaded with patterns far older than your own memories. And the moment you understand where they actually came from, something quietly shifts. Scientists who study the brain's resting state discovered something unsettling. The brain does not go quiet when you stop working. It switches into a wandering mode that automatically replays the past, rehearses the future, and scans for anything that might go wrong. Researchers found that this system fires up within seconds of losing focus, and people who spend more time inside it consistently report lower well-being, regardless of how good their actual circumstances are. To understand why, you have to go back further than neuroscience. For most of human history, silence was dangerous. A mind that constantly anticipated threats and rehearsed survival strategies kept its owner alive long enough to pass those tendencies down. The worriers survived. The overthinkers were, for most of human existence, the ones most likely to see tomorrow.
But survival tools do not update themselves when the environment changes. The same system that once protected your ancestors now treats an unanswered message with the same low-grade urgency as a physical threat. The alarm is working perfectly. It just has no way of knowing the emergency passed thousands of years ago. Here is what makes this stranger still. Most people never question whether their thoughts are accurate. A thought arrives, and the mind immediately treats it as fact, as evidence, as something to be solved. But researchers who study this found that the content of a thought matters far less than how a person relates to it. Two people can have the identical worried thought and have completely different experiences depending on whether they fuse with it or simply notice it.
Cultures separated by thousands of miles and centuries arrived at this conclusion on their own. Ancient Greek philosophers built entire schools of thought around the idea that suffering comes not from events, but from the judgments the mind forms about them. Contemplative traditions across Asia spend centuries developing methods for watching the mind without being controlled by it. Modern brain imaging has since confirmed what those traditions knew through experience. The brain measurably reshapes itself around whatever you practice most. The most persistent misunderstanding is that quieting the mind means producing silence. That belief stops most people immediately because a thought always arrives within seconds and they assume they have already failed. But this was never about silence. It was always about grip. The thought can appear. What changes is whether you clutch it and build a world inside it, or simply watch it pass, the way clouds move across a window, without you feeling responsible for the weather. Every time you catch yourself lost in a thought and return your attention to the present, something small but real is happening in the brain. A pattern is being interrupted. It rarely feels like progress, but that moment of return is exactly where the change lives. Beneath all the noise, there is something that has been steady the whole time. The voice narrating your life is not your life. The story the mind tells about who you are is not who you are. You did not create the noise, you inherited it from biology, from history, from a species that survived by never stopping. But inheritance is not destiny, and understanding where the noise came from is the first honest step toward no longer being ruled by it.